Welcome to the Just Music Podcast. I am your co-host, Jalen,
And I'm your other co-host, Marco.
and this is episode 100 something.
I lost track too.
Yeah, 100 something. But yeah, we have a very awesome guest on the podcast today. She is incredible. Everything that she's doing with the Charleston Jazz Academy here in Charleston, South Carolina, and uh, from being a part of the marketing team to also being a talented vocalist and performer, and has a history and background in that. And also just supporting me in some of my musical endeavors as well. We have the wonderful Lacy Miller. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Good to see you, Marco and Jalen.
Of course. Yeah, good to see you. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Really. Having somebody from Charleston Jazz come on was something that I definitely wanted to have happen because I knew about Charleston Jazz since my time at the College of Charleston. And I was like, I want to be able to get involved somehow, but I don't know exactly how.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, 2020, Marco says we should do a podcast. Fast forward 4 years later, I'm like, oh wait, I know how to get involved with Charleston Jazz now. Have somebody
That's
on.
awesome.
It's crazy how things work out, but
This is why you want to start the podcast.
yeah, yes,
Yeah, there we go.
exactly. Get Charleston Jazz on. This is the sole reason for starting.
It's a
Just
great way to meet people. Hey, can I interview you?
yeah, absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely.
So this
So,
is a COVID era podcast.
oh yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
We launched September of 2020, and then we had our first episode in October, and we did a few episodes that year, and
Yeah.
then we just kept it rolling, going from there. So yeah, but Lacy, I want you to give an introduction, talk about you, your affiliation with Charleston Jazz, and also your love for music.
Yeah. I feel like I'm very spoiled. Music is a part of everything that I do for fun and for work. And so I love all styles of music and came into being a professional jazz singer with my sister about 25 years ago. We started performing for events and formed a touring duo and a band. And so we ended up in Charleston about 10 years ago. And I started going to these amazing shows put on by Charleston Jazz. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love these shows. I can't even afford to go to as many shows as I want to. So I started volunteering for them. And then shortly after volunteering for them, a couple years in, they were looking for a marketing director. And I had been marketing a lot of jazz, my own shows, including several other artists and a jazz club in town. And it was the perfect timing. COVID had hit and I was not touring. So I was so excited to apply. I applied, got the job, and going into my third season promoting Charleston Jazz, the Academy, the orchestra, the festival, all things music. It's a very enjoyable type of work to do.
Yeah, I bet. And because when we met, uh, this is like background, like context for the listeners. It was what was that? February, I think. I think I reached out to Charleston Jazz, and then I got connected with you, and then we hopped on a Zoom call, and like I told you about the podcast, everything that I'm doing, and then you told me about Charleston Jazz and how you got affiliated and how you have a background in music. And then when you were explaining Charleston Jazz, I think my initial introduction to Charleston Jazz was I thought it was primarily just a well, not just, but like primarily focused on orchestra and like jazz, like orchestral music focused around jazz music. Like there's an orchestra for it.
Yeah.
And then after talking with you, you also explained how there's camps for students, there's like workshops, there's lessons, and like it's very much it is an orchestra, but there's also like other things that Charleston Jazz is affiliated with in terms of education and music. And
Right.
shout out to Basil.
Oh, we love Basil.
Yeah, I got an opportunity to meet him. So like if you could, talk about that too, and how, you have, I guess, gotten involved with that on your end.
Sure. So Basil is the director of the Charleston Jazz Academy, and he has touched the lives of so many of the musicians that are now the professional working musicians in Charleston through his work in schools, through his work in the Charleston Community Band, at the Academy. There are very few jazz musicians in Charleston, or musicians in general, that Basil's life hasn't touched. So it's really special to work with him at the Academy. He leads some incredible programs. We serve thousands of students every year. We can't fit thousands in our actual academy, so we actually go out into the community. Every year we collaborate with the Gilliard Center in January for a program called Jazz Day for Kids, and schools from all over the Charleston metro area come to enjoy a jazz performance. Local Grammy Award Charlton Singleton usually hosts that, along with members of our Charleston Jazz Orchestra. So we have usually it's over 1,000 students that come to this event every year. So that's one of our flagship programs. We also, we take Grammy Award-winning artists and major touring artists into a small ensemble setting into schools. And a lot of these schools in our area, the students maybe haven't had access to go to concerts. They maybe don't have a music program. They've never seen anything like it before. And what's so special is they're growing up in a city that is one of the birthplaces of jazz. I know New Orleans is kind of the flagship city for jazz, but Charleston, if you go into the praise houses today, you're going to hear that Gullah Geechee rhythm that is the same underlying rhythm in the famous song, The Charleston. You're going to hear this call and response style. And even internationally, Charleston historically is known for specific trumpet stylings that became famous here through the Jenkins Orphanage. And so when we go into these schools, we're telling the young people, you live in a really important musical town. There's incredible history here today. We try to bring that history forward and also let them know, like, this is your musical heritage. So that's really special. So we reach thousands of students through going into schools. And then we also have an academy in North Charleston on